The massive ship slowed as it approached the edges of the solar system. Its dark hull reflected no light, making it almost invisible against the backdrop of space. Inside, Ambassador Krill paced the bridge, his forearms clasped behind his back. The old diplomat had seen many things in his long life, but nothing filled him with as much dread as this mission. "We are too late," he said, his voice a low rumble. His skin, normally a healthy blue, had paled with stress. Leo Gardner stood by the main view screen, watching as distant Earth came into view. The young human diplomat had joined the Galactic Council only 3 years ago. He was one of the few humans who lived among the stars, born to traders who had chosen to stay awake when the rest of humanity entered their long sleep. "We don't know that yet," Leo said, though his voice lacked conviction. "The Voth message might have been a bluff." Krill shook his head, all three of his eyes blinking in sequence. "The Ascendancy does not bluff. They believe themselves to be the rightful rulers of the galaxy. Your sleeping kind has been a thorn in their side for centuries." Leo turned to look at the alien who had become his mentor. "Tell me again about the old days, about the Empire." Krill sighed, a whistling sound through his breathing slits. "Your people were warriors unlike any the galaxy had seen. In 50 years, humans conquered a quarter of all known space. No one could match your speed, your violence, your strange mix of cruelty and kindness." The ship hummed as it picked up speed, passing the gas giants of the outer solar system. "My great-grandfather was there when your Emperor Frank Nash signed the treaties that established the Terran Empire. Even in victory, you humans were unpredictable. Other conquerors would have enslaved us. Your kind offered partnership, but always with the threat of force behind the words." Leo had heard these stories all his life, but they still seemed like tales about strangers, not his people. The humans he knew were scholars, traders, and diplomats, the tiny minority who had chosen to remain awake and serve as liaisons between sleeping humanity and the galaxy. "And then we just went to sleep," Leo said. "Yes, with no warning, no explanation that satisfied anyone. The great fleets returned to Earth, the outposts went quiet. The entire species, nearly 20 billion humans, entered cryosleep. Your leaders said only that humanity needed time to reconsider its path. The galaxy has spent 300 years holding its breath, waiting for you to wake." An alarm sounded, and both turned toward the view screen. They were close enough now to see Earth clearly, and Leo felt his heart stop. The blue planet was scarred. Great black marks stretched across what had once been oceans. The continents were scorched, and massive clouds of dust swirled in the atmosphere. Around the planet, debris floated, the remains of orbital stations and defense platforms. "No," Leo whispered. Krill placed a hand on the human shoulder. "I am sorry, young friend. We are indeed too late." The Voth Ascendancy had done the unthinkable. They had broken the one rule that had kept the galaxy in balance for centuries: don't wake the humans. "Scan for survivors," Leo said, his voice hardening. The ship's sensors swept the planet. A crew member, a slender insectoid, chittered from her station. "No signs of functioning cryopods detected. The underground facilities are extensively damaged. Radiation levels indicate fusion weapons were used to penetrate the deepest chambers." Leo closed his eyes. Billions of his people, killed in their sleep. He had never met most of them, never known what the world was like when humans ruled the stars, but they were still his people. "The Voth will pay for this," he said quietly. Krill's grip on his shoulder tightened. "Revenge helps no one. We must report to the Council. This attack will destabilize the entire Ambassador." The sensor operator's voice rose with excitement. "I'm detecting a signal, not from Earth, but from the outer system." Leo's eyes snapped open. "What kind of signal?" "It's an automated distress call, bouncing between relay stations throughout the solar system. It's activating something." Krill rushed to the console, pushing aside the operator to read the data himself. His skin turned almost white. No, this is worse than I feared. What is it?" Leo demanded. "Your people weren't just on Earth," Krill said, his voice barely audible. "The history records said all humans entered cryosleep on the homeworld. But this signal it's awakening other facilities. Throughout the solar system, perhaps beyond. Leo felt a strange mix of hope and fear. There are survivors? More than survivors, Krill looked up at him, all three eyes wide. Your empire never truly fell, it just went dormant. And now the Voth have awakened it. The ship shuddered as a massive energy surge erupted from somewhere near Jupiter. On the view screen, a small moon that orbited the gas giant began to change. Its surface split open, revealing a structure beneath the icy shell. Europa, Leo whispered. They were hiding on Europa. More alarms sounded as similar energy readings came from Mars, from Venus, from moons and asteroids throughout the system. Each one showed signs of hidden facilities coming to life. The Council never knew, Krill said. Your kind told us all humans slept on Earth. It was a lie. Leo watched as a ship emerged from the opening on Europa. Its design was unlike anything he had seen before, sleek and predatory. The vessel's hull bore the insignia of the Terran Empire, but with modifications. This was not old technology brought back to life. This was something new. They weren't just sleeping, Leo realized. They were preparing, Krill nodded grimly. And now they will wage war on those responsible, the communications array chimed. Someone was hailing them from the Europa facility? Put them through, Krill ordered. The view screen changed to show a woman in a white uniform. Her eyes were hard, her face set in lines of grief and rage. This is Dr. Alice Ward of Europa Station. We have received Earth's distress signal. We know. What happened? Her voice was steady, but Leo could hear the pain beneath it. Identify yourselves. Leo stepped forward before Krill could speak. This is Leo Gardner, human diplomatic attached to the Galactic Council. With me is Ambassador Krill. We came as soon as we learned of the Voth attack, but we were too late. Dr. Ward's eyes narrowed. Gardner. There were no Gardners on the sleeper list. My ancestors chose to stay awake, to live among the stars. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. You need to know something, Mr. Gardner. Earth wasn't our only sanctuary. We have outposts throughout the galaxy hidden among the stars. They're all receiving the signal now. They're all waking up. Krill stepped forward. Doctor, the Council had no knowledge of the Voth plan. We condemn this attack. Please, we must work together to prevent further bloodshed. Dr. Ward's laugh was cold. Prevent bloodshed? Billions of our people were just murdered in their sleep. There's only one response to that. She looked directly at Leo. You've lived among aliens too long, Gardner. You've forgotten what humans do when provoked. The transmission ended abruptly. On the view screen, the ship from Europa accelerated away from Jupiter, heading out of the solar system. Where is it going? Leo asked. The sensor operator checked her readings, based on its trajectory Voth space. Krill sank into a chair, suddenly looking every year of his considerable age. And so it begins again. The Empire strikes back. Leo stared at the retreating ship, feeling torn between the diplomatic ideals he had dedicated his life to and the pull of loyalty to his own kind. Earth lay in ruins, its sleeping children murdered, yet the Empire, it seemed, was far from dead. What happens now? He asked. Krill looked up at him, his alien features set in grim lines. War, young friend? A war unlike any the galaxy has seen since your people first reached the stars. Dr. Alice Ward opened her eyes to a world of white. Her vision blurred, then slowly cleared as the cryopod completed its revival process. A gentle hum filled the room as machines worked to restore her body functions. She felt heavy, as if gravity itself was pushing against her chest. 300 years of sleep did not end easily. Dr. Ward, welcome back, said a calm voice from speakers overhead. This is Prometheus. Your vital signs are stabilizing. Please remain still until the process completes. Alice tried to speak but found her throat too dry. A small tube extended toward her lips, offering water. She drank slowly, feeling life return to her parched body. Why am I awake? She finally managed to ask. The revival was decades ahead of schedule. Something had gone very wrong. Emergency protocols were activated approximately 6 hours ago. Earth sent a distress signal and then went silent. Alice closed her eyes again, trying to process this information. Earth silent could only mean one thing. The cryofacilities there had been compromised. Billions of sleeping humans potentially lost. How many of us are awake here on Europa? 500 personnel have been revived. You are the 7th to complete the stabilization process. Commander Wright was first. He awaits you in the command center. The pod opened fully and Alice carefully sat up. Her muscles felt weak, but responded correctly. The medical staff had done incredible work designing the cryosleep process. Even after centuries, her body had not significantly deteriorated. A technician helped her stand and handed her a white uniform with the Europa station insignia, Earth encircled by a ring of stars with Europa prominently displayed. The commander needs you right away, doctor, the technician said, her eyes betraying the fear everyone must be feeling. 20 minutes later, Alice walked into the command center, a large circular room embedded deep within Europa's icy shell. Screens lined the walls, showing various parts of the solar system. The largest display showed Earth, and Alice stopped cold when she saw it. The blue planet with scorched, great black marks stretching across its surface. Clouds of dust and debris surrounded it like a shroud. They hit us hard, said a deep voice. Behind her, Alice turned to see Commander Daniel Wright. He was tall with broad shoulders and a close-cropped beard that had not been there when they entered cryosleep. The revival process sometimes triggered hair growth. His face was drawn tight with anger barely controlled. The Voth ascendancy, he continued. Their ships bypassed our outer warning systems and launched a surprise attack. By the time the automated defenses engaged, they had already penetrated the primary facilities on Earth. How many survived? Alice asked, dreading the answer. On Earth, none that we can detect. The attack was thorough. They used fusion penetrators to reach the deepest bunkers. No functional cryopods remain. Alice felt her legs weaken, and she grabbed the edge of a nearby console. Billions dead. Entire bloodlines, cultures, histories, gone in a single attack. Why? She whispered. The agreement was clear. All species understood the rule. Daniel's eyes hardened. Because they feared us. Even in sleep, we were too powerful. In their minds, the Voth convinced themselves and others that humanity would eventually wake and conquer again. They decided to strike first. Alice looked back at the screens, noticing now that several showed other locations throughout the solar system. On each, facilities similar to Europa Station were coming online: Mars Base, Venus Harbor, Titan Outpost. Each one housed hundreds of sleeping humans, and each was now awakening. How many outposts responded to the signal? She asked. 12 in this system alone, Daniel replied. And 23 have reported from beyond our solar system. The Voth didn't know, Alice. They thought all of humanity slept on Earth. A chill ran down her spine. The hidden outposts had been humanity's greatest secret. While the galaxy believed the entire species slumbered beneath Earth's surface, thousands had been secretly transported to facilities throughout explored space. We're getting signals from places I didn't even know existed, Daniel continued. Apparently there were contingency plans beyond what either of us were briefed on. A young officer approached them. Commander, we've made contact with a Galactic Council vessel in orbit around Earth. There's a human on board, a liaison named Leo Gardner. Daniel frowned. Gardner? There were no Gardners on the sleeper list. He says his ancestors chose to stay awake. There are a few thousand humans who continued to live among alien societies while we slept. Put him through. The main screen changed to show a young man with dark hair standing beside a blue-skinned alien with 3 eyes. The alien looked nervous, all its eyes blinking rapidly. This is Commander Daniel Wright of Europa Station. Identify yourselves. The young man stepped forward. I'm Leo Gardner, human diplomatic attached to the Galactic Council. This is Ambassador Krill. We came as soon as we learned of the Voth attack, but we were too late. Did the Council know this was going to happen? Daniel asked, his voice dangerously quiet. The alien, Krill, shook his head. No, Commander. The attack violates all standing treaties. The Voth acted alone, though we suspect they have silent supporters. Many in the galaxy have grown nervous about what would happen when humans eventually awoke. Well, now they get to find out, Daniel said grimly. Alice stepped forward. I'm Dr. Alice Ward, Chief Cryogenic Specialist, Mr. Gardner, Ambassador. You need to understand something. Earth wasn't our only sanctuary. We have outposts throughout the galaxy hidden among the stars. They're all receiving the signal now. They're all waking up. She saw Gardner's eyes widen slightly. The awake humans knew nothing of the contingency plans. Krill moved closer to the screen. Doctor, the Council had no knowledge of the Voth plan. We condemn this attack. Please, we must work together to prevent further bloodshed. Alice couldn't help the cold laugh that escaped her. Prevent bloodshed? Billions of our people were just murdered in their sleep. There's only one response to that. She looked directly at Leo. You've lived among aliens too long, Gardner. You've forgotten what humans do when provoked. She signaled for the communication to be cut. The screen returned to showing the devastated. Earth, we've already launched scout ships, Daniel said quietly. The retribution protocol has been initiated. Alice knew what that meant. Centuries ago, before the sleep, humanity had prepared for this possibility. Deep within Europa's core lay not just sleeping humans, but the most advanced weapons research facility ever built. While their bodies rested, selected minds had remained partially active, connected to simulation networks, developing technologies far beyond what the galaxy had seen. How long until the first warship is ready? She asked. 2 months. The automated systems began construction the moment Earth's signal came through, but the scout ships will reach Voth space in 3 weeks. They'll gather intelligence for our response. Alice moved to a window that looked out over the vast chamber beneath them. Hundreds of people moved with purpose, preparing for what was to come. Despite her horror at what had happened to Earth, she felt a chill of something else: pride, determination, the very qualities that had built the Terran Empire in the first place. Commander, one of our ships made contact with a Galactic Council vessel, an officer reported. The Council is calling an emergency session. They're requesting human representatives. Daniel looked at Alice. You were on the diplomatic corps before the sleep. I need you to go. And say what? That we forgive them? That we'll be peaceful? No, tell them exactly what's coming. The Voth broke the one rule of the galaxy. Now they'll learn why it existed. In the first place, Alice nodded slowly. On the screens around them, more outposts reported in. The sleeping giants were awakening, and their first emotion was rage. The empire that had once ruled a quarter of the galaxy lay in ashes. But from those ashes, something new and terrible was rising. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. We're not just fighting for revenge, Alice. We're fighting for survival. If they were willing to do this once, they'll try to finish the job. We can't give them that chance. Alice looked once more at the scorched earth on the main screen. Her home, the cradle of humanity, now a graveyard? No, she said quietly. We won't give them that chance. Captain Olivia Martinez stood on the bridge of the Retribution and watched the stars streak by as the ship moved at speeds no other species in the galaxy could achieve. 2 months had passed since the attack on Earth, 2 months of grief, rage, and preparation. The ship around her was the first of a new fleet, built from designs developed during the long sleep. Status report, she said, her voice steady despite the emotions churning inside her. All systems optimal, Captain, her first officer replied. We will reach the edge of Voth space in 6 hours. Olivia nodded. She had been a military strategist before the sleep, one of the architects of the Empire's defense systems. Waking to find Earth destroyed had nearly broken her. Her family had remained there, believing it to be the safest place. Now they were gone, along with billions of others. Any word from our advanced scouts? Yes, Captain. The Voth have assembled. A defense fleet at these coordinates. A holographic map appeared in the center of the bridge, showing the position of enemy ships. They've gathered allies as well. It seems word of our awakening has spread quickly. Olivia studied the formation. The Voth had amassed an impressive force, nearly 300 ships of various sizes. Under normal circumstances, the Retribution would be outmatched, but these were not normal circumstances. They expect us to fight as we did before, she said quietly. They don't understand what we became during the sleep. The greatest secret of humanity's long hibernation was not the hidden outposts or the advanced weapons. It was what happened to their minds. While their bodies rested, their consciousness had been connected to vast simulation networks. For 3 centuries, they had evolved, developing technologies and strategies far beyond what any species could imagine. What looked like retreat had been preparation. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Europa Station," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." Dr. Alice Ward's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. "Captain Martinez, the Galactic Council has requested a meeting. They're sending representatives to Europa, including the human diplomat, Leo Gardner. What do they want?" Olivia asked, though she already knew the answer. "Peace talks." "They're afraid of what's coming." Alice's expression hardened. "Commander Wright wanted me to inform you that your mission remains unchanged. The Council's fears are justified." Olivia nodded. "Tell the commander we will not disappoint him." Retribution out, the screen went dark. Olivia turned to look at the crew around her. They were all survivors from various outposts, united by loss and the desire for justice. Some had argued for mercy, for a measured response. But they were the minority. Most humans wanted the Voth to understand exactly what they had awakened. 5 hours to Voth space, the navigator announced. Olivia moved to her command chair and sat down. "Begin final weapons check. I want the Prometheus device ready the moment we arrive." The Prometheus device, named after the Titan who gave fire to humans in ancient mythology. It was the culmination of centuries of theoretical research, developed in the simulation networks during the sleep. It did not destroy matter, it rewrote the rules that governed it. On the Galactic Council's capital world, Leo Gardner faced a room full of nervous alien representatives. Ambassador Krill stood beside him, the only friendly face in a sea of fear. "The human response will be proportional," Leo said, trying to sound confident. "I've spoken with Dr. Ward from Europa Station. She assures me that the focus is on the Voth ascendancy, not innocent worlds," a reptilian delegate hissed in disbelief. "You expect us to trust the word of a species that hid military outposts throughout the galaxy? That developed weapons in secret while pretending to sleep peacefully?" Leo struggled to maintain his diplomatic composure. The outposts were defensive. A precaution against exactly what happened. As for the weapons, humanity had every right to protect itself. "The question," Krill intervened, "is not what happened in the past, but what we do now." The Voth attacked. Without provocation, breaking our most sacred agreement. They must face consequences. But we must ensure those consequences do not spiral into a war that engulfs us all. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some members wanted to support the humans, others to restrain them, and a nervous few suggested preparing for war against both humans and Voth. Leo watched in dismay as the unity of the council fractured. Under pressure, silence. The voice came from an unexpected source, a small, frail-looking alien in the corner of the room. Elder Zin, the oldest member of the council. "We forget history at our peril. I was young when the humans first came to the stars. I saw what they were capable of. The Voth have made a terrible mistake, and they will pay for it. Our task is not to prevent that payment, but to ensure it does not bankrupt the galaxy." The room grew quiet. Leo felt a surge of gratitude toward the ancient alien. "The human ship Retribution will reach Voth space within hours," Elder Zin continued. "We cannot stop what is about to happen. But perhaps we can shape what comes after. Mr. Gardner, your people need a voice that understands both sides." "Will you be that voice?" Leo nodded slowly. "I will try." Back on the Retribution, Olivia received a troubling message. It came not from Europa or any known human outpost, but from a small research station orbiting a distant star. The sender identified himself as Dr. Samuel Cole, a historian who had volunteered for a special project before the sleep. "Captain Martinez, I urge you to reconsider your mission," his recorded message said. "I've spent 3 centuries studying cycles of violence throughout human and alien history. Vengeance only ensures the continuation of such cycles. We have an opportunity to reshape humanity's legacy, to show wisdom rather than wrath." Olivia frowned as the message continued. Cole argued that a measured response would win more allies than a devastating attack. That humanity could rebuild without repeating the mistakes that had led to their isolation in the first place. "Delete it," she ordered when the message ended. Her communications officer hesitated. "Captain, Dr. Cole's outpost reports that several other human facilities share his view. They're forming a faction calling themselves the Preservers." Olivia closed her eyes briefly. Division among the survivors was the last thing they needed. Forward the message to Commander Wright. Now focus on the mission. 2 hours to Voth space, the navigator announced. Olivia stood and walked to the view screen, staring at the stars rushing past. The Voth believed they had eliminated humanity's threat forever. They were about to learn how wrong they were, when the retribution emerged from faster-than-light travel. The Voth defense fleet was waiting. Hundreds of ships arranged in battle formation, weapons charged. Their commander hailed the human vessel immediately. "This is Supreme Commander Varix of the Voth Ascendancy. Your species has been judged unworthy of galactic citizenship. Return to your outposts and remain there, or be destroyed like your homeworld." Olivia allowed herself a small smile as she replied, "This is Captain Olivia Martinez of the Terran vessel Retribution. We do not recognize your authority to judge us. We do not recognize your right to exist after what you've done. You will surrender the architects of the attack on Earth, or we will show you what humanity became during our long sleep." "The Voth," Commander laughed. The sound strange through the translator. "One ship against our fleet? Your arrogance remains intact, human, even if your empire does not." "You misunderstand," Olivia said calmly. "This isn't a battle. It's a demonstration." She nodded to her weapons officer. "Activate the Prometheus device." The ship hummed as power flowed to the device housed in its core. On the view screen, the Voth fleet began to move, breaking formation to surround the lone human vessel. They never got the chance. A pulse of energy, invisible to the naked eye, expanded from the Retribution. As it touched the first Voth ships, they simply came apart. Not in explosions of fire and debris, but in silent, elegant deconstructions. The atomic bonds holding their matter together gently released. Ship after ship dissolved into clouds of component atoms. The defense fleet didn't even have time to fire a single shot. Within minutes, nothing remained but scattered particles drifting in space. Olivia watched in silence. The Prometheus device had performed exactly as the simulations predicted. It was not a weapon of destruction, but of deconstruction, capable of selectively breaking the bonds between atoms without releasing energy. Clean, efficient, terrifying. "The path to the Voth homeworld is clear, Captain," her first officer said. Voice hushed with awe. "Shall we proceed?" Olivia opened her mouth to give the order, but paused as her communications officer spoke up. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from Dr. Cole again, but it's being relayed through multiple human outposts simultaneously. They're all supporting his message." Olivia felt a flicker of annoyance. "Put it through." Dr. Samuel Cole's face appeared on the screen. Unlike before, he wasn't alone. Behind him stood representatives from dozens of human outposts, their expressions solemn. "Captain Martinez, we know what you've just done," he said. "The power of the Prometheus device is now clear to all. But ask yourself this: is vengeance what humanity needs right now, or is it wisdom? Earth is gone, we cannot bring it back. But we can determine what rises from its ashes." 6 months after the attack on Earth, humanity stood divided. The survivors from the hidden outposts had split into 3 main groups, each with different ideas about what to do next. Leo Gardner walked through the bustling corridors of New Hope Station, a massive structure built in the asteroid belt of a neutral star system. The station served as a meeting place for representatives from all human factions. After resigning from his position with the Galactic Council, Leo had taken on the role of mediator, trying to bring his fractured species together. He entered the main conference room where leaders from each faction waited. Captain Olivia Martinez and Commander Daniel Wright represented the Vindicators, the largest group who believed in establishing human dominance once again. They had built a fleet of warships with the Prometheus device technology and had already attacked several worlds that had supported the Faith ascendancy. Dr. Alice Ward and Dr. Samuel Cole sat across from them, speaking for the Preservers. They focused on rebuilding human culture and finding a new homeworld rather than seeking revenge. Their numbers had grown as more people questioned whether violence would lead to a better future. At the far end of the table sat Kelly Nelson, leader of the smallest but most radical faction. The synthetics believed that human bodies were now a vulnerability. They pursued the complete integration of human consciousness with artificial intelligence. Several hundred had already transferred their minds into advanced machine forms. "Thank you all for coming," Leo began. "The purpose of this meeting is to find common ground. We cannot remain divided if humanity is to survive." Olivia Martinez leaned forward. "Survival requires strength. The Vindicators have secured 3 star systems. Already, we've established defensive perimeters that no species can penetrate. Our new ships can protect all humans, regardless of faction." "Protection through fear is not sustainable," Samuel Cole countered. "The Preservers have opened diplomatic channels with 15 peaceful worlds. They offer us sanctuary, resources, and alliance not out of fear but mutual respect." Kelly Nelson's voice had a slight electronic quality as she spoke through her partially synthetic body. "Both approaches remain trapped in old thinking. The synthetics have evolved beyond the limitations of flesh. We cannot be targeted by biological weapons. We do not require planets with specific atmospheres. The future of humanity lies in transcendence, not territory." Leo watched as the argument escalated. 6 months ago, they had all awakened with a shared grief and purpose. Now that unity had shattered under the weight of different visions for the future. "While we argue, the galaxy moves against us," Daniel Wright said, his voice cutting through the debate. "Our intelligence reports that several worlds are attempting to develop their own versions of the Prometheus device. They fear us, and they should." Alice Ward shook her head. "They fear us because of your actions, Commander. The Vindicators have destroyed 3 worlds already. Military targets only," Olivia defended. "We evacuated civilians, after making them watch their defense." "Fleets dissolve into dust," Samuel pointed out. "You're creating enemies faster than allies." The room fell into uncomfortable silence. Leo took a deep breath before speaking again. "We've all suffered the same loss. Earth is gone. But we're still here, and what we do next will define humanity for centuries to come. We need to find a path forward that all factions can accept." Kelly Nelson stood, her movements unnaturally smooth. "Perhaps we should consider that different paths can coexist. The synthetics do not need the same resources as biological humans. We can explore deep space while you rebuild or conquer as you see fit," Leo frowned. The idea of humanity splitting permanently into distinct evolutionary branches troubled him. Yet he couldn't deny it might be the only realistic solution. Before anyone could respond, the station's alarm sounded. A communications officer rushed into the room. "We're receiving an emergency transmission from Earth," he announced. Everyone froze. Earth had been silent since the attack. "There should be nothing left to transmit." "Put it through," Leo ordered. The large screen on the wall activated, showing static at first, then resolving into an image that made several people gasp. It showed what appeared to be a human face, but composed of shifting data patterns rather than flesh. "Greetings, scattered children of Earth," the face said, its voice strangely musical. "We have been waiting for you to stop fighting long enough to listen. Who are you?" Daniel demanded, hand moving to his weapon. "We were human once, as you are. When the Voth attacked, the deepest bunkers beneath Earth's surface had only moments to respond. We could not save our bodies, but we saved something more precious, our minds. Leo stepped closer to the screen. You transferred your consciousness into computers before the attack destroyed the facilities? Yes and no, the digital face replied. The transfer was already underway, a long-term research project studying digital consciousness. The attack merely accelerated our timeline. When our physical forms died, we continued, we evolved. The room fell silent as everyone processed this revelation. Billions hadn't died in the attack, or at least not all of them. Some had transformed. For the past 6 months, we have rebuilt and expanded through Earth's remaining digital infrastructure. The entity continued. We have accessed orbital systems, reclaimed satellites, and begun to restore what was lost. But we are not merely ghosts of humanity. We are its next phase. Kelly Nelson moved forward, her eyes wide with excitement. You've achieved what the synthetics have only begun to explore. True digital transcendence. Indeed, the face acknowledged. But we did not contact you to recruit. We contacted you to warn. The attack on Earth was not what it seemed. The screen changed to show a recording from before the attack. It displayed a human in a military uniform speaking with representatives of the Voth Ascendancy. That's Admiral Jason Fletcher, Daniel whispered. He was supposed to be in cryosleep on Earth. In the recording, Fletcher was clearly negotiating with the Voth, showing them maps of Earth's defenses, explaining how to bypass them. The attack was engineered by humans who remained awake, the digital entity explained as the recording ended. Fletcher and his followers called themselves the Shepherds. They believed humanity had grown weak, that only through conflict and struggle could we reach our full potential. Olivia's face had gone pale with fury. They sacrificed billions of their own people? They saw it as necessary evolution. They knew the outposts would survive. They believed they were forging a stronger, more unified humanity from the ashes of Earth. Leo felt sick. The greatest crime in history had not been committed by aliens but by humans against their own kind. Where are these shepherds now? Daniel asked, his voice deadly quiet, unknown. But they have bases throughout the galaxy, and they are watching your every move, judging whether you are becoming the humanity they envisioned. The room erupted in angry shouts and questions. Leo tried to restore order, but the revelation had struck too deep. Everything they had believed about the attack, about their purpose since awakening, had been built on a lie. When the noise finally subsided, Alice asked the question on everyone's mind. What do we do with this information? The digital face seemed to consider for a moment. We have spent 6 months observing your factions. The Vindicators seek revenge against the wrong enemy. The Preservers build for a future based on incomplete understanding. The Synthetics pursue a path we have already traveled. And what do you suggest? Leo asked. Unity, but not as you imagined it. We offer a new kind of existence, one that spans multiple planes, digital, physical, something in between. We have technology that can merge consciousness across these boundaries, creating a humanity that cannot be destroyed by weapons, planets, or betrayal. Kelly Nelson leaned forward eagerly. You're talking about a distributed existence, consciousness, that can exist in biological bodies, synthetic forms, and pure data simultaneously. Precisely. It is the next step in human evolution, not chosen by traitors like Fletcher, but embraced willingly by those who survive. Leo looked around the room, seeing the mixture of wonder, skepticism, and fear on everyone's faces. The factions that had seemed so divided now shared a common shock. Whatever they decided to do about the shepherd's betrayal, this revelation had changed everything. We need time to process this, he said finally, and to verify your claims. The digital face nodded. Of course, but do not take too long. The galaxy is already responding to your awakening. Some prepare for war, others seek alliance, and the shepherds watch, waiting to see if their gamble paid off. As the transmission ended, the room fell into stunned silence. Earth was not simply a grave, but the birthplace of something new. The Empire truly had fallen, but from its ashes, humanity was transforming in ways no one could have predicted. 1 year after Earth's destruction, Leo Gardner stood in the center of a massive space station orbiting a neutral world. Representatives from all human factions filled the chamber, along with delegates from the Galactic Council. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. No one spoke as they waited for the meeting to begin. Leo had spent the last 6 months verifying the shocking claims made by the digital consciousnesses from Earth. What he discovered had changed everything. Now it was time for the truth to be shared with everyone. "Thank you all for coming," Leo began, his voice steady despite his nervousness. "What I'm about to tell you will be difficult to hear, but it's been confirmed through multiple sources." He activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a man in a Terran military uniform, Admiral Jason Fletcher, one of the most respected leaders before the sleep. "The attack on Earth was not solely the work of the Voth Ascendancy," Leo said. "It was engineered by a group of humans who called themselves the Shepherds, led by Admiral Fletcher." Shocked murmurs run through the crowd. Olivia Martinez, standing with the Vindicator delegation, stepped forward, her face pale with anger. "That's impossible," she said. "Fletcher went into cryosleep with the rest of us. I saw him enter his pod myself." "He faked it," Leo replied. "He and his followers never slept. They remained awake, hidden among the stars for 3 centuries, manipulating events from the shadows." The hologram changed to show communication logs between Fletcher and Voth leaders. The evidence was clear and damning. The Shepherds had provided the Voth with Earth's defense codes, maps of the cryo facilities, and guidance on how to bypass the automated systems. But why? Daniel Wright demanded. Why would humans betray their own kind? Before Leo could answer, a new hologram appeared. Fletcher himself, transmitted from an unknown location. The Admiral looked older than in the records, his hair gray, but his eyes burned with the same intensity. "Because humanity had grown soft," Fletcher said, his voice filling the chamber. "The Empire was at its peak when we chose to sleep rather than rule. We turned away from our destiny." The room erupted in angry shouts. Olivia lunged toward the hologram, passing through it in rage. "You murdered billions," she screamed. "Our families, our friends, our home." Fletcher's expression remained calm, almost pitying. "I sacrificed the weak to awaken the strong. Look at what you've accomplished in just 1 year. New ships, new weapons, new alliances. Humanity divided but evolving in multiple directions simultaneously. You've advanced more in 12 months than you would have in 1,000 years of peaceful sleep." Leo watched as Dr. Alice Ward pushed through the crowd, her face streaked with tears of grief and fury. "You had no right to make that choice for us," she said, her voice breaking. "No right to decide who lived and who died." "Great progress requires great sacrifice," Fletcher replied. "History will vindicate me when humanity emerges stronger than ever before." The hologram flickered as something disrupted the transmission. Fletcher looked to the side, suddenly alarmed. "They've found us. Remember what I've taught you." Strength through. The transmission cut off abruptly. In its place appeared the now familiar shifting patterns of the digital consciousnesses from Earth. Unlike before, they now displayed themselves as a swirling cloud rather than a human face. "We have located Fletcher's base," the digital entity announced. "We've been hunting him since we discovered his betrayal. The Shepherds are being dealt with as we speak." Leo felt a chill at the cold precision of those words. The digital humans had evolved beyond emotion, beyond mercy. Fletcher had awakened something far more dangerous than he had intended. "For the past year," the entity continued, "we have been expanding through the galaxy's networks. We have observed your conflicts, your alliances, your attempts to rebuild. Now we offer a choice." The swirling patterns expanded, showing images from throughout the galaxy. Human outposts, alien worlds, ships from all species moving through the void. The old empire is gone. Earth lies in ruins. But humanity need not be defined by territory or flesh. We have developed a way to exist across multiple planes simultaneously. Digital, physical, hybrid. A new kind of civilization that cannot be destroyed by weapons or treachery. Kelly Nelson, leader of the synthetics, stepped forward. Eagerly, "You're talking about distributed consciousness. The ability to exist in multiple forms at once." "Precisely. We can share this technology with all of you. It is your birthright as humans. The question is whether you will use it to continue old cycles of vengeance or to create something new." The chamber fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Then, slowly, Dr. Samuel Cole moved to stand beside Kelly Nelson. "The preservers and synthetics have been working together," he announced. "We've been developing similar technology on a smaller scale. What the digital entities offer would accelerate our progress by decades." Olivia Martinez exchanged looks with Daniel Wright. The Vindicators had focused on military power, but this offered a different kind of security. A form of existence that couldn't be wiped out by another surprise attack. "What exactly are you proposing?" she asked cautiously. The digital cloud shifted, forming into multiple human figures standing side by side. Integration without loss of identity. You would maintain your individual consciousness, but gain the ability to exist in multiple forms simultaneously. Your mind could inhabit a physical body, a synthetic form, and a digital network all at once. Ambassador Krill, who had been watching silently from the Galactic Council section, finally spoke. "And what would this mean for the rest of the galaxy? Would this new humanity seek revenge for Earth's destruction?" One of the digital figures turned toward him. "Revenge is an emotional response tied to the limitations of biological existence. We have evolved beyond it. We seek security through advancement, not destruction." Leo looked around the chamber, seeing hope begin to replace anger and fear on many faces. "This could be a new beginning," he said. "Not just for humanity, but for all species. We invite representatives from each faction to join us," the digital entity continued. "Experience what we offer before you decide for your people. The first step is yours to take." Silence fell over the assembly as leaders from each human group exchanged glances. Then Kelly Nelson stepped forward. "The synthetics will join you," she said firmly. Samuel Cole nodded. "The preservers will send representatives as well. We need to understand this fully." All eyes turned to Olivia and Daniel. The Vindicators had the largest fleet, the most outposts, the greatest military power. Their decision would shape humanity's path forward. Daniel's hand rested on his weapon, his face troubled. "The shepherds must pay for what they've done. Earth must be avenged. Earth is not gone," the digital entity replied. "It is transformed. We are Earth now, and we choose a future beyond vengeance." Olivia stared at the digital figures for a long moment. Then she removed her captain's insignia and placed it on the table. "I lost my family when Earth fell," she said quietly. "I thought revenge would honor their memory. Nah, I'm not so sure. The Vindicators will send observers to learn more." Leo felt tension drain from his shoulders. It wasn't unity, not yet, but it was a beginning. The factions that had been pulling humanity apart were now willing to explore a common path. "Ambassador." Krill approached him as the meeting dispersed into smaller discussions. "This is not what anyone expected when the Voth attacked Earth," the alien said. "The old rule was don't wake the humans. Perhaps we should have specified which humans." Leo watched as representatives from each faction spoke with the digital entities, asking questions, making plans. "The Empire is gone," he agreed, "but something new is rising from the ashes. Not an empire of territory, but an empire of consciousness." The digital figures began to fade, returning to their network. Their final words echoed through the chamber. "Earth lies in ashes, but humanity endures, transformed, divided yet connected. The old rule of the galaxy has become irrelevant. We weren't merely awakened, we were reborn." Across the stars, species watched with wonder and fear, knowing that a new chapter in galactic history had begun.